So the thing that we have to understand is that we are freedom itself, and we therefore can't remember freedom. This is a key, really important point to understand. You can't remember being free, right? We usually have reference to freedom because we was like, oh, I wasn't free, now I am. I remember not being free. I was in the prison, now I'm not in the prison. You know, I was stuck in there, now I'm not stuck in there. I was in here, in the non-freedom, now I'm in the freedom, now I'm free. But for our natural condition, for our natural being, we are already free. So you can't reference that freedom. So when you can't reference it, it means you can't use logic to explain why you're free. So if someone says to you on the internet, some internet guru says, you're already free, it's true, but it can't be explained by ourselves per se, by referencing the past. And the human being is conditioned to remember or to reference from the past. If there's a reason for something, if I don't believe something, I need a reason as to why I should believe the alternative, right? But the craziest thing is that if someone, to understand that we're already free, you can't do the same thing that we've always done, which is like prove to me that I'm free based on a memory or something that it happens in the past. You see? Like, why am I free? Oh, because... It's like, because what? There's no because to why you're free. You're just free. This is the hardest thing to comprehend for the mind, because the mind is so accustomed to having a reason for things. You can't reason something that has no cause. So you're free causelessly. Now, in the human experience, there are limitations, and these limitations are perceived. But what we don't quite understand when we're not well versed in this teaching is that the limitations that we experience don't necessarily mean they're limitations of ourself. Now, because ourself is not a limited entity, it means you also can't remember that. You can't reference to that from the past. It's just already present. So you can't explain why you are free or what you are, because you're already free and you're already present and you've never not existed. So you're just continuously here, which means you cannot refer to yourself as an object or experience yourself as an object. So this is why the Enlightenment understanding can be tricky. But the most tricky thing is to disentangle ourselves from the fallacy of believing that it is some type of state of mind that we must attain. It's not a state of mind. Now, what would a state of mind mean? A state of mind would mean that you didn't have something, then the state came, and then you were free. But what would that state even be? And how limited would that state be if it has to begin? If it starts, it will by definition end. Whether that's now or 2 years or in 10 million years, it will end. So it's not true freedom. True freedom is the realization that you're already free. The reason you don't understand or know why you're already free or can't see that is because you're so used to verifying your own state based on a previous state, based on some form of memory or some form of knowledge. So the most direct way to start to open your mind up to this possibility is to learn to stop using the same mechanisms that you used to use to explain other things. So you have to come to a very profound realization that if I am to understand my own freedom, I cannot use my mind in the same way. Can you use your mind? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can use your mind. But you can't use it in the same way. So you can't resort to knowledge. Knowledge means knowledge of the past, knowledge that isn't verified by direct experience. So knowledge of time and space is a perfect example. Time and space aren't actually experienced. They're experienced as knowledge. We know about time and space, but the thing we know is it doesn't actually exist. So it's just pure knowledge. It doesn't refer to something real, you see. We base our entire lives off knowledge. We base our entire existence off things that we think are there that aren't actually there. That's basically what knowledge is. So how do we remove knowledge? We remove it by taking the process of understanding. Understanding dissolves knowledge. And the traditional enlightenment is to simply recognize what you are on a fundamental level. Nowadays, people are recognizing this just walking down the street. or taking mushrooms with their friends, or taking LSD at a party, or doing whatever it might be. It's just happening like this. It's happening all around the shop. So we don't need the same requirements as we needed when, the Eastern traditions had enlightened gurus in the villages, and the villagers would do these types of things. And we don't need that anymore. What we need is to supplement the speed and rate at which people are recognizing their true nature. So enlightenment is the beginning stages step of the path. We for some, I don't know why, but for some reason we've aggrandized the state of enlightenment. We have put it on a pedestal and believed it is something separate to what we're currently experiencing. And when we do that, anything you give super importance to, you push away. So if you give super importance to happiness, which is all it really is, unconditional happiness, you create an entity. You create like this superior object. An object doesn't have to be physical, right? It can be a state-like object, an objective experience, a state-like objective experience. And when we create this state-like objective experience, we remove ourselves from it, right? So for example, if you want to be a billionaire, you can't see having a billion as a crazy profound thing, because you can't maintain crazy and profound things. You can only maintain what is normal and status quo to you. So your life right now is maintained because everything there you think is normal. To someone else, that's a crazy and profound thing. What is it? You have clean tap water? You can drink water from the tap? My mate from Africa, he has to walk 5 miles to get to the nearest water fountain, right? So, to some people, having a water that just runs from the tap like on an infinitely is profound. But for you, that's a standard, right? So you maintain that naturally. You maintain clean bed sheets, hopefully. You maintain you brushing your teeth. You maintain having an actual just home to live in, right? Some people live on the street. So to you, your life right now is a baseline standard, a hygiene standard of normal. But to somebody else, that is an absolute fantastically exotic reality that they don't believe they can have. Now, you right now maintaining this status quo, maintaining this level of standard, you probably see somebody else's life who's driving private jets everywhere, living in a mansion, depending on which season it is, traveling wherever they want, doing absolutely nothing other than just enjoying their lives. You might think that is an absolutely profound reality. And therefore, you'll keep yourself away from that because you can't live in a reality that is something super important. Super important means you give it a standard that is beyond what you think is normal for you. And that also goes to a super importance on an understated level, super unimportance. It's below you. You attract what you judge, and you attract what you put on and you dismiss what you put on a pedestal, and it balances out. So when you put enlightenment on the pedestal, you are quite literally removing yourself from your own freedom. You are saying that my natural freedom is way too good for me. I shouldn't be able to experience that. That sounds absolutely profound and exotic. Therefore, I will stick to the current norm, which is my own suffering, and you will consistently perpetuate it. The Enlightenment paradigm has been aggrandized by egos that didn't know what it was. Just realize that. If you imagine like a celebrity, right? A celebrity is just a normal human being, right? Let's take Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber is just a kid who sang and played the guitar, right? Fantastic kid, right? I love Justin Bieber, but my point is he's a normal kid, like millions and billions of other kids out there who are also special, right? Who can play the guitar. Justin Bieber was therefore, when he was put on the pedestal, when he was given a stage, he was made to be special. He was marketed by the industry. He was made to be special. They created a perception of him that they wanted to sell, right? So they created this perception of him. He was then put on a pedestal, and then a normal kid was turned into an idol, and millions and millions and millions of girls all over the world fainting in his presence. Right? When they go to school, they don't faint when the guys in school, as they performed on stage, they wouldn't be fainting, right? But they're fainting at the idea of divinity. They're fainting at the idea of something so far beyond themselves. This is what has happened with enlightenment. We have marketed, it's almost been marketed in a way. Marketed can be very diverse, by the way. It doesn't necessarily mean to put on an advert on TV. Marketing is just word of mouth, right? So egos have seen someone who seems to have something they don't have that they think is very special. It is special, but it's not special because it's separate. It's special because it's within them. And they've talked about it and talked about it. And all of a sudden, we create what we could call a pendulum. Pendulum is from the book Reality Transurfing, if anyone hasn't read it. A pendulum is basically like an egregore. It's an entity that needs to be fed with energy. So the Enlightenment pendulum is, a pendulum could be anything, right? Your family home has a pendulum, right? And your dad, your mum, your brothers and sisters, they all behave in a certain way, and they also don't do certain things. And if you do, you notice that if you're your family home, if you don't do a certain thing, it's like the whole family's like, you didn't do the thing that we all do. It's like, because the pendulum is like an energetic entity that requires you to feed it. And how do you feed it? You just do whatever the pendulum wants. And the pendulum wants in the family home, whatever that thing might be, right? It's dependent on circumstances of different things. The football pendulum gets fed with conflict. This is why you have people fighting in football stadiums, because the pendulum swings of different football teams. There's the overarching pendulum of football, then there's the branch of pendulums, which is the individual football teams, and the overarching pendulum gets fed when the football team fans clash. They create the energetic charge. You see, a football player takes a shot and misses. You know, the fans, they energize the pendulum. You miss the shot. This all goes to the pendulum, whether they miss or whether they score. All the energy created goes to the pendulum, which then gets transferred through the people, which gets transferred to the overarching collective mind, which goes back into the people, and it thrives like that. So it's like a pendulum's like a collection of minds that all strive towards the same thing. So enlightenment has a pendulum, and the paradigm of this enlightenment pendulum requires the energy of people in order to put it on a pedestal for it to survive. So it's like an idea that is almost turned into an entity on its own right, and it lives through our perception of it, giving it the energy to create it. So it's almost like the idea of enlightenment is one big massive ego fed by egos, and it lives when you put it on a pedestal. And when that happens, it not only does it prevent you from experiencing freedom yourself, but it keeps you in a cycle of feeding the enlightenment pendulum, which is why a lot of people seek for decades. They're not seeking, this is the thing, most people on the spiritual path aren't making progress, they are just feeding the enlightenment pendulum. They are literally just giving energy to this giant egoic idea of the ultimate highest freedom entity, and they feed it with the pedestaling energy. And then teachers, right? Just like we have the overarching football, and then under that we have football teams, right? Then we have, in the enlightenment paradigm, then we have the teachers, right? And then we have the overarching teachers, the underling entities of the teachers, right? Now, the teachers aren't necessarily the pendulums, even though they are on one level. The energy around them is created as pendulums. So, for example, very popular teachers, if they haven't successfully dismantled the pendulums put on them and the pedestals, they will be taken down in your perception. So whenever you put something high on a pedestal, the equalizing force will bring it down, and it will look like you being to some degree disappointed by that teacher or by that thing. So whenever you put something on a pedestal, a correcting force will come and it will take it off the pedestal. And when it takes it off the pedestal, from your point of view, it will look like disappointment. So every teacher that you love, when you've put them on a pedestal, if you haven't successfully taken them off via your own intelligence, something will happen, a correcting force will take place that will make you disappointed with them, which will therefore in turn take them off the pedestal for you. And then you will judge them. And then what will happen is that you'll put them in super underimportance. So you put them on super importance, now you're putting them in super underimportance. And you will take them off the pedestal and you will judge them. And you will say that they're not who I thought they were. In fact, they're even less because I thought they were and they made me think that, and now I think they're less than that. So you put them on super underimportance. And I can guarantee you again, what's going to happen is after you put them on super underimportance, you look back one day and think, actually, they kind of were who I thought they were, because now I understand their freedom. Now I understand where they were coming from, because now I've internalized that myself. And now I realize my own imperfections. Now I realize I don't need to be perfect. Now I understand why they were doing and saying what they were saying. And now I've come full circle from all the pendulum swings back into my own being. Now you're going to start creating your own pendulum. And what's going to happen is you will feel the urge to share your understanding. And what happens then is, this is what happens with teachers, is that they go out into the world. They start talking and sharing. They say something very insightful. It changes people's lives. That person then creates a perception of that teacher that they're special. That creates a new pendulum. And if you keep doing that without managing the perception, you create a new pendulum. People perpetuate the Enlightenment pendulum again, and they get stuck in the seeking and moving forward. So this is why the new paradigm of enlightenment isn't going to be this guru student teacher relationship. It will be to move with friends. It will be to bring it down to the level of friendship, because we all see our friends as special and important, but we don't put them on a pedestal, right? So this is why the Buddha said, when I come back, I'll come back as your friend. When he was asked on his deathbed, "Would you going to reincarnate, Mr. Buddha?" He said, "Yes, I will, but when I do, I'll come back as a friend." This means that when I do, I won't be put on a pedestal like you've done to me for my entire life. I'll just be one of your friends. And this is the most important thing to understand. It is nonsense to be putting this on a pedestal. We've had our time. We've woken the world up to the idea of something beyond themselves, which is the kind of wisdom in having that idea. But then we have to take it off the pedestal, not under it, just off it. Once we're off the pedestal, we can start having friendships where we talk about this level of truth, where we don't put ourselves into a higher state than everybody else, and we start to interact on a human level. This is all about being human, bringing it back to being human. Yes, we get enlightened, we understand our true nature. Then what? Then we're going to be a fantastic human being. You see? You do what humans do. And what is that? Most people don't even know, because they spent most of their lives not even being human. They spent most of their lives believing that they are limited. The human being can't express fully when it believes itself to be fundamentally like an idea, like I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a this, I'm a that. That's not a human being, right? A human being is whatever you're being right now, you see? So take it off the pedestal, let yourself breathe, and realize that this state is not a state that you must attain. It's the state you're already in. It's your already present freedom. So the faculties of your mind, I don't want to go into too much of this in this video, because otherwise it'll be too long. I have other videos where I talk about this. But the key important thing to see here is that to embark on this new journey, which hopefully you feel inspired to move on through what I've been sharing, the necessary requirement is to allow yourself to stop resorting to previous knowledge in order to understand the current experience. And you do that by getting accustomed to living in uncertainty and being okay with that. You have to be okay with not knowing. Most people, they don't know, and they don't want to know, or they think they know. They're the two options. I don't know, and I don't like that I don't know, or I don't know, or I do know, sorry, and I'm content with this knowledge that seems to still continue to bring me suffering, so I don't know why I think I know, you see? So get accustomed to not knowing. I have plenty of videos of where to go from there. When we move into curiosity mode, we start to explore experience, we start to awaken the intellect, and then we bridge the heart and the mind together. If you'd like more on this, I have a free community. The link is in the description. I can help you out every single week, free of charge, if you'd like to chat. Have an amazing day. I'll see you soon. Take care.